Hey there, my name is Z.W. Buckley. I'm a composer, music producer, and Ableton certified trainer, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about Operator, which is one of Ableton Live's flagship synthesizers. But really, we're talking about how Operator gives back. What am I talking about? Well, you might not have known that you can actually export custom waveforms from Operator that you can then use in Simpler and Sampler to create your own custom instruments. And that's what I want to show you today. Let's jump in. So I have Operator here. Now, it's an FM synthesizer, and so by default, we have sine waves, but there's a whole host of various different waveforms that we can use for Operator. And all the way down at the bottom is user. And this allows you to create your own waveform by drawing in the harmonics. Right now, we just have the fundamental. And so we get a sine wave. But if I add our second harmonic, we can see that the sound gets brighter. We can also see the waveform change. It's kind of cool to watch that little visualization change in real time as we adjust it. And so you can dial in the harmonics for a waveform all the way up to 64 harmonics. So let's stick with 16 for now. And you might know about this feature of Operator, but what you may not know about is that you can actually export these as an AMS. What is an AMS? Well, let's click export. And a .ams is an Ableton meta sound, and it's pretty much just a short audio file. And here we go, we hear that waveform. Now we can reload that waveform into oscillator. So let's just drop it into operator B. And we can see, boom, we've loaded in this user waveform. But what else can we do with these waveforms? Well, we can go ahead and grab an instance of Simpler, and we can absolutely drop any of these waveforms, which you can find in your user library under samples and waveforms. I've got a few that I've exported here, but you can absolutely drop it into Simpler and use as an audio file. And if we turn on loop and then engage snap, it's pretty much just a subtractive synthesizer. The other device that we can use it in is Sampler. And so what I want to mess around with today is generating a couple of different interesting waveforms using Operator's AMS export function and see if we can't create a really cool synth that completes this little groove that I've got started here. So let's actually start by just dragging in the waveform that I just exported. And we'll actually need to pop into the zones tab first because by default, it loads these .ams files just as a C3. But I want this sample to go out the whole length of the instrument. So it's pretty fun already. It's a zippy little sound. Let's open up the release a bit. So let's generate some other waveforms to layer in with this. So let's delete this empty Simpler track here. And let's go back to Operator. And one thing that's really cool that you can do when making these sounds is you can actually select what harmonics you're working with. So let's just go back to Operator A here. We'll disengage B entirely, disengage the filter, open up the tone, all that jazz. I don't necessarily think that any of this stuff affects the export, but I just want us to hear the sound that we're exporting. Now, I'm going to bring down all these other harmonics and yeah, just make sure that all of them are gone. We're starting from scratch. Beautiful. And I'm going to right click and select just the odd harmonics. So now, even if no matter where I scan, it's just going to dial in these odd harmonics. And so I can boost them however I like. And that's kind of an interesting shape. It's somewhat triangle-like, somewhat square-like. And check in the higher octaves because Yeah, like right about there. I maybe need to lower some of these harmonics. They can get pretty darn spiky in there. Let's export this and use it. So I'm going to export my AMS and waveform 4 here. Awesome. I'm going to grab that and drag that into this sound. And again, I'm going to need to stretch the whole darn thing out. And let's disengage this first waveform. Awesome. And let's get a third waveform to work with. And so let's try the opposite. Let's actually go even harmonics. But we're going to go all first and just make sure that all of them are not being used. That's an interesting wave shape. Let's go with it. Let's export it. And let's also drop this into sampler. So let's hear the groove with just this one once we extend it all the way to the full range of the device. Let's make sure, there we go. You notice how there was like this little kind of hiccuping going on? That was from the looping. If we bring it in, so with snap-on so that it creates really a perfect seamless loop. Cool, so we've got this waveform, which I'm just gonna rename it evens, odds, others. Now we could just layer them all on top of one another and call it a day. But if we pop into the MIDI for this track, we can see that there are ranges for these velocities that we're using. So what I want to do then is I want to switch over to the velocity window of our editor here. And let's just go ahead and distribute the ranges here. And so I'm going to right click and distribute ranges equally. And so now all three sounds are distributed evenly across the velocity range. So let's just hear what this part sounds like now. And we'll fold it down so we can see all the notes. Now that's really interesting, but what if we just highlight everything and let's even randomize the velocities? That's really cool. I like that a lot. So let's just stick with that. Now we can just really build a synthesizer with this. So let's pop over to the pitch oscillator tab and let's play with the spread a bit. Let's bring the spread up to 50. Let's play around with the pitch envelope. Something that I really like doing is your classic sampler move of going, like 12 semitones up and then a really fast decay. Let's try 100 milliseconds. Let's go a little tighter, about 50. Let's play around with FM a bit. Something we could play with that I find a lot of fun with FM sometimes is to just loop it. So let's set it to beat and 16th note. And for that, we're going to need to really control the decay here. I really like that 1/48, it's almost like something's like rolling on a surface, or like you're sticking your finger in the spokes of a bike. Like there's just some fast rhythmic movement. Please don't stop watching this video and stick your fingers in the spoke of a bike. You know what I'm talking about, but it adds some really cool rhythmic interest. I like it. Let's keep moving on. Play with our filter. And let's go for a driven sound. Let's just try SMP and go 3. That's pretty fun, and envelopes are our friend. So let's add a little bit of movement. And let's do a little bit of modulation. Modulation is always fun. So let's go ahead and do LFO2. I often jump right to LFO2 because unlike LFO1, LFO2 on sampler is stereo, which is really cool. And so let's set it to spin and let's play with that filter frequency just a bit. Let's go 25. And so we're going to use spin to offset the left and the right channel. Maybe let's really crank it. Let's try a few other waveforms. I'm going to turn off retrigger too. So now let's bring it down a bit. Yeah, that's so fun. Awesome. And then, how we play with this release time is really going to affect a sound, especially with such short notes like this. This is a really cool sound just with a few different waveforms that we exported from Operator. And that's what I really love about this technique is that it takes the same tools and materials that we have, but it really is inviting you to engage with them in just a totally different fashion, which is awesome. So let's hear the synth we made now back in context with the rest of this little groove. And that's where we'll wrap it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Please consider liking, subscribing, and leaving a comment. I'm working really hard to grow this channel to 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2026. And if you want to go further in helping to sustain the channel, consider joining my Patreon. A supercharged version of the instrument that I made in today's video, featuring even more custom waveforms and some awesome processing, is available as a monthly instrument for my artist tier patrons. You can also purchase it separately from my website. Thanks again for watching, and until next time.